He's not? Okay. All right, cool. Let's get this party started. We ready? Make sure your phone's on silent. All right. Welcome to another edition of the Social Proof Podcast, man. We find dope people that did dope stuff. This is my partner. We made a bunch of money together in real estate.
It's nice.
Yeah, behind the scenes. You're a real behind the scenes guy.
I try and lay low where I can, you know.
Yeah,
I figure the more people see me, the less I'm doing my job well. You know?
That's a fact. So you are one of the partners that helped the Derik Lynn Smith brand grow and operate.
Yes.
I've been fortunate enough to be able to work with both of you. And Derik is just an amazing, amazing human being. Mm-hmm. But I really get a chance to get into the weeds of numbers with Derik.
Yeah.
Yes, on the structuring of the deals and stuff like that. Because I want to know like all of the little details, right? So Derik can say something very high level, and it's like, all right, bet. Then I got to say, hey, Derik, explain that. And then she'll start explaining it, right? But I get a chance to talk to Derik, and we get to nerd out on all the numbers, okay?
we got spreadsheets for everything.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So I guess, D, kind of introduce yourself and what you do specifically.
Yeah. So Derik Godeaux is the name. So my background is in corporate finance. You know, I started in telecommunications and government finance as well. Did some consulting for a while and kind of always did real estate during that period. Owned a manufacturing company at some point, you know, but eventually found myself full-time in real estate doing that thing, which is finance. And so, you know, we kind of, I mean, you know, being an entrepreneur, everyone has to do everything all the time, but that's my specialty. That's my lane. Finance operations, just kind of making sure the back office, admin, financial stuff is set up. And of course, the more big brain tasks, because I say smaller brain, it takes a big brain to do the accounting stuff, you know, but the more impactful and, you know, business growth focused work is more of deal structures, you know, the things you're mentioning, you know, analyzing deals, underwriting, doing that type of stuff.
Gotcha. I want to jump straight into my personal situation. Are you ready?
I am prepared, yes.
All right, cool. Because it's an idea, it's a concept that's not out just yet, but we're actively working to do it. So, oh my gosh, I can't even believe I'm talking about it on such a public platform because it's such a brilliant idea.
You really put it out there.
Yeah, that other people are going to do it. Mm-hmm. But for the sake of our audience understanding how we're going to approach it, I'm going to talk about it, okay? You ready? Okay.
Let's go.
So I've been working, I've been having this idea, bro. I didn't even tell Donnie until like last month. Like this has been a concept that I've like really held close to my heart because I know it's going to work. So people have like salon suite concepts, but I want to do like podcast suites and content creator suites where we can rent out. You have your own space, your own setup, your own room. You go and record as much as you want. And we teach you how to set up your own camera so you can be your own self-sufficient podcaster, content creator, right? So I just got this vision, 30 rooms. People can rent out some. We still do full service work for other people. But now I want to get into the numbers.
Yes.
There is a building there's two buildings. One is $1 million. One is 1.35 million. They both need a lot of work. They're both shells, right? So let's say it's going to be about $750,000 for the build out on both buildings for this particular concept. Shouts out to somebody in the Patreon that said I just can't afford to do it. So Derik has sent me 3 options of deal structure on how I can get this done. One option, let me just share it. I wonder, she probably wouldn't mind. All right, so she sent me this document. It's kind of a build out of, you know, just kind of recap of what we talked about. So, and if you guys don't know Derik Lynn Smith, listen, go to thepropertychallenge.com. She's been on the podcast mad times. And I reserved this particular conversation for Derik because he's really going to jump into the weeds. But I did spend an hour on the phone with Derik, and she's breaking down each option. So here was the first option. Create a GPLP who owns the real estate only. We create a new company. It says David, Derik, Stephanie. creates a GPLP. Real estate only invests only in the acquisition. Purchase price $1 million. Agree to pay investors back a monthly payment. Example: if this new company occupies this building, this $1 million building, the new company pays the building money, and the investors who gave the $1 million will make money off of the rent.
So that option, think of it like this, right? Forget the podcast idea. We're just going to buy commercial real estate. That's what that deal is. We're getting investors. We're going to buy a commercial property. That commercial property, we're going to put a commercial tenant, and that tenant is going to pay us lease. They're going to pay us rent. And over time, we're going to, realize a certain cap rate. We're going to make profit off of normal investment operations, and that's that. And so on the other side, right, like the podcast is the actual business that's in the unit.
So in that scenario, the building leases out to a strong tenant, which is this company that I'm going to create. So I can go to someone and say, hey, give me $1 million. I'm going to buy this building. I'm going to build it out, and you will make a payment. You will make money not only off of the money that the tenant, which is me, is paying the building, but also you're an equity owner in the building.
So being an equity owner in the building gets you profit off of those lease revenues, whatever come in. So podcast aside, again, this is just a real estate investment. You're an LP, you're a GP in this case, right? So you own the building. You also own the company that is going to be occupying the building. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
explain GPLP.
So GPLP, it's a type of structure that's used in a lot of large transactions. I mean, from even smaller, like let's just say there's a 20 unit, we bought, right? We use the GPLP structure for that. If you're doing, syndication, which is, in layman's terms, using crowdfunding, right? Through different SEC exemptions for raising money for securities, you can use that GPLP structure as well. So GP stands for general partner. LP stands for limited partner. The way that I usually remember those is your GP is your operator. They're the quarterback. They're putting all the pieces together. They found the investors. They found the deal. They find the property managers. They do all the stuff, like all the end of year accounting, like they do everything, right? And for that work, they are compensated a portion of equity in that deal. The LPs, limited partners, are your investors. It's the easy way to remember it. Operator, investor. A GP can also...
Give me some numbers, examples.
So let's just say, let's just say a $2 million deal, right? We're talking about this right here. We'll round it up to 2. GPLP type of situation. Let's say the GP structure, looks to be, 15% of equity. So to find the deal, to operate it, to put the whole thing together, to find the tenant, to do all these other things, LPs agree to provide 15% of deal equity on that property, which is ownership, profit, like it's everything, right? 15% to that GP group. The LPs own 85%. They're bringing all the money. So in this case, they're bringing $2 million for 85% of the business. That's what they're bringing to the table. GPs are bringing expertise, skill,
work,
ability to execute, work, most importantly, for 15%.
I see. So in this scenario, let's say I'm going to buy this building, $1 million. I may say, I find a group of people who are all going to put in maybe 100,000, 50,000 or whatever to make up this $1 million. But this $1 million represents 85%. The other 15% equity will come from us, like people who are either finding these investors or monitoring the build out and all that kind of stuff and structuring it and getting all the contractors and stuff like that.
That's right.
Okay, so that would be an attractive option for an investor. How?
So in this case, and I can tell you of all the options, everything comes down to like the investor profile, because all the 3 options that you would have gotten, I don't know exactly the other 2.
Go through them.
I know where she's coming from, so I can pretty much tell you what the other 2 are, because that's what I would say. But generally, the type of investment structure depends on the type of investor you want, because someone like me, where I'm at in my real estate journey, short-term cash flow is not as important as long-term money plays. Now, when you're starting out, or, let's just say, you're still at your W-2, like you're working through, trying to build up that real estate portfolio, there is a greater importance for short-term cash flow because you need it to pay bills.
Yeah.
But there is a crossover point where short-term cash becomes less important, and that enables you to focus on long-term plays, which are much more profitable long-term. So, and that's really the dream, right? The long-term plays. And so in this case, why would investors prefer, option one where they're owning the building? I would say the investor profile for that is someone who doesn't really have a high need for short-term cash flow, and they're looking more for the long-term value add and appreciation that's going to occur or that's going to be realized in this building.
Got it. Because no matter what happens to the actual business, whether the business is busy, slow, all that kind of stuff, they own the real estate.
That's right.
And what is it, how, like we're doing the Shan's building, right? Mm-hmm. And she was saying, well, it's going to cost $4 million to build out, but immediately once it's built out, it'll be worth like $8 million.
Yeah. So the cost to construct, if you do it right and do it properly, it is almost always going to be less than what you'll be able to sell it for after, right? Like think just a normal real estate developer. I'm building a new house for someone. The cost of materials, the cost of, actually building that property, let's just call it, $300,000. As soon as that thing is done and ready to be sold, that market price is going to be based on surrounding properties, like similar, call them comparables, right? Comps. And so, just the act of building it in and of itself, like there's a portion of like, what I call is like the stress equity. So there's a certain level of stress associated with building a $4 million apartment complex, a level of pressure associated with, building a new single family home from ground up. And the value of the equity play is usually equal to that. You know what I'm saying? Like, because not everybody wants to go and build new properties. Not everyone wants to buy a building and outfit it to, have a huge podcast studio. Yeah. Those that are willing to do it, they are typically awarded with, immediate appreciation or equity gain on properties.
Got it. See, I think I still be thinking short term sometimes.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, dang, I would want more money now, and I'm trying to understand. But now it makes sense because you put in $1 million to buy a building, and let's say we're gonna like build it out, operate it, and all that kind of stuff. And by the time it's built, it may be worth $2 million, meaning the money you just put in basically doubled by you putting the first initial investment in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, like that's really where Derik and I make a large. I mean, you're part of a lot of these, but that's where we make a large push for equity plays is we find things that, are like diamonds in the rough, but they don't look like diamonds. They look like turds. You know what I mean? I mean, they are not, so like I have this thing, we walk into a property, if it smells like, deceased animals or something really sour, it's like, that's what money smells like, man. I mean, like
that's
it smells just like it's nasty. It does not smell good.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. How many properties are you a partner in?
At this point, right about 200.
You know what? You said something to me one time. You picked me up from the airport in Louisiana, in Lafayette, and you said you own some properties yourself, like just not a part of a group. It's just
right.
These are my properties. And I forgot the question, but I remember the answer was, man, I'm really trying to get rid of those so I could do more syndication stuff.
It is true.
Why is that? It seems like you own the property and you make the money, and maybe you put a system in place where, property management or whatever, and you get to own it versus a portion of other stuff.
Yeah. So, and that's a real hot topic, in the real estate market, because you talk to, different types of investors and they'll be like, oh, if you don't own 100%, then you don't own it. And I'm like, well, first off, Blackstone,
right.
biggest, pretty much hedge fund in the world, they would have something to say about that, right? All these large real estate funds, all the REITs, everything, your real estate investment trust, all of those, like they own things outright, but their investors are comprised of proportional ownership, and yes, I can go out and build a real estate empire, by just stacking properties. Let me get them one at a time, and eventually I'll be able to do 2 at a time, and then 4 at a time, and then 10 at a time. But the difference is that, number one, when you don't collaborate with investors like that, you're missing out on huge networking opportunities. Because like, if you and I just knew each other, right, that would be a certain level of, we'll call it like, business intimacy, right? Like, I know a certain part of you. But if we're doing deals together, and those deals are, very much complex, and it requires a greater level of trust, well, hold on, now all of a sudden, like, it is different. You know what I mean? Like, when you come into town, it's like, hey, we're not going to eat at a restaurant. Like, I'm bringing you to my house. Like, we got dinner on the stove. Like, it's that type of stuff. So there's the networking portion of it, but also it's just like, stereotypical business term of synergy, like, I mean, saw that, some big Microsoft announcement a while back, but the CEO was up there on stage, like, super sweating, just like sweating buckshot. He's like yelling synergy and all this stuff. So that's what it is. But like, if I take, 10 investors that each have $10, okay, that's $100 of investment right there. This is a small investment, obviously, but if I take 10 investors, each of them have $10. If they invest that on their own, right, the power of that money is $10.
Yeah.
Well, if I put all those 10 people together, the power is not 100. It's a lot higher than 100. And so you're able to scale a whole lot better in group economics. Honestly, it's less work, because if I own properties outright, I have to find property managers. I have to do underwriting. I have to do deal structure. I have to find funding. I have to do all these things. But if we're doing group economics, all I'm doing right now is underwriting. Yeah. And I'm really good at it, okay? Terica, she's doing acquisitions, and she's the best at it. I have not found one person better. I'm being very honest about it, so you're able to focus on specializations, and it's the same type of efficiencies you would see, if you're looking at like a small mom and pop style business versus a large corporation. Large corporations, they have tax analysts, right? They have, a product specialist, right, that only focus on product design. Whereas mom and pop, you're doing everything, right? So you're spread thin. So I will defend that to the death in every single scenario, and there is benefit to owning it outright on your own. But just for me and my investment strategy, there's no other apex approach than group economics.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, cool. Let's get into the second deal, this deal structure. And this was just, I guess, Terica kind of put together some spitball ideas so I can get my mind moving in the right direction and approaching it properly, right? So option number 2, okay. Full purchase and build out raise. Creators Clubhouse, my business, Creators Clubhouse 2, raises $2 million for acquisition and build out of entire studio suites. Shan's Real Estate Holdings and Terica Lynn Smith, 20% ownership raise in management. LP 80% ownership for $2 million. Example, 4 investors invest $500,000 each and is paid on net income at 20% each. You got to break that down. You want to see it?
Yeah.
Option 2?
Yeah, let me check this out.
Yeah, break down option 2 for us as we start dealing. And I think so many people are going to be able to do bigger projects because we got to understand different deal structure on how to get it done. And the reason I haven't done this idea so far is because I'm basically looking at what's in my own pockets.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to get me there.
I don't know, definitely not. And honestly, like, there's so much that is, I mean, again, it goes back to that whole group economics conversation, but so right here, I think option 1, we talk about almost like a debt type of scenario, right? Where, so kind of like backtracking to option 1, because I think option 2 is more like what we just discussed as option 1. So option 1, the real one she wrote here, I think is more like flat payments back. So it's almost like structured like debt in a sense. Like, we're taking a loan out, but you have ownership, right? And just what we pay you is structured as flat rate paybacks until your money's paid back. And that's actually pretty common in equity funds in general. They call it.
Hold on.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
I don't understand.
So you go to a bank, okay?
Yes.
And, let's just say option 0. You go to a bank, you get a $2 million loan. You're going to pay that bank, X amount per month, principal and interest to pay off that loan. in here, I think what she may be recommending, this is one of the ideas, right? Is you structure the ownership as debt. So they own 80% of it, right? Mm-hmm. But they're not necessarily paid off of profit. They're paid a flat rate.
Yes.
Right. So it becomes
like a mortgage.
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes more of an operational expense. Option 2 here looks like, that more traditional GPLP setup where it's profit. Like you're getting paid off of profit. Like it's an actual commercial investment.
But that's profit. I believe what she was saying is this one is profit based on the business as a whole, because we're raising not only the $1 million acquisition, but another $1 million for the build out.
Yeah.
So if we raise $2 million, the profits are based on the entire $2 million.
And so do you think that would include, the actual operation of the podcast? So. Yeah. So in that case, you're literally just starting a business, It's a new business.
Right.
With bless you.
Thank you.
It's a new business with same GPLP ownership, 20%, 80%, whatever that may be. And, they share in the operation of that.
Got you. Okay. So first option, I can approach an investor and say, you be the bank. Mm-hmm. Give me $1 million. I will pay this debt off. But I wonder, is there a payoff in this structure? And I guess there's a million ways to skin a cat.
I don't think there is because if option 2 would include, let's say, they actually own the business itself. Like we are coming together to start this podcast venture, yes. Which, involves buying this building, it involves the build out, it involves the operation of it. If that's the case, then, it's just a new business. The first option would really be more like it's a commercial real estate investment. Yeah. We're coming together to buy the building. We already have a tenant locked up, a really reliable tenant. We're pretty sure he's going to pay because he's an owner here too, right. But yeah.
Okay. So, LP 80% ownership, GP 20% ownership. Mm-hmm. But the reason I didn't like that option is because I have to be the driver of the business. You know what I mean? So I have to do a whole lot of work for a portion of the 20%, which I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's your business.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then option 3, investors invest $2 million in a fund, TLS Shands, and we pay them 20% of net income of the fund. We retain 100% ownership and or allocate 20% of equity in real estate and 5% net income on investment. All these are negotiable terms and can be created and reconfigured.
Yeah. So that third one, it sounds more like a hybrid of the two, right? Where you're saying, hey, look, because really, first off, the deal is anything you want it to be structurally. Yeah. So if you were to break it up like, hey, this is the ownership for the building, okay? This is the ownership for the business revenue. So building revenue, business revenue, 20 and 5%. So if we go to sell the building and there's equity in it, well, they would get a 20% payout on that. Yeah. In the meantime, or until that point would occur, it would be 5% of profit or whatever that number would be. So it's kind of like a composite, right. But and I think at the end of the day, again, that comes down to the investor profile. Like who are we trying to pull in, because if it's a super stable investor, they may not be worried about that 5% business profit as much as they're worried about, the stable income, stable appreciation from a commercial real estate investment.
Got it. One thing I don't want to do is start raising $500 and $1,000 from people because they're not.
No.
They're like, yo, where's my $500?
Well, and then at that point, you step into a whole new territory. We talk about getting in the weeds, it's a whole new territory because, the SEC, and I hate that these terms are even a thing, but, they have sophisticated and non-sophisticated investors. So if I call someone non-sophisticated, like, that's an insult.
Yeah,
like, for sure. You come in here with your unsophisticated language. Like, come on, man, pronounce the G's at the end of your words, but the SEC's view of that is, and again, I disagree with this too, but if you make $250,000 or more per year as an individual, or $350,000 as a couple, household, or your net worth is $1 million or more, not counting your home residence, like your primary residence, then you are considered an accredited investor and thus are sophisticated. And here's the thing. I know people who are worth that much that I would not call sophisticated. They're fun to be around, but they're not sophisticated, you know? Right. And they're my friends, but they're not sophisticated. But when you start raising from smaller amounts like that, you know, ask yourself this. If somebody came up to you and said, David, I got an investment for you, man, it's going to blow your mind. Okay, what's the buy-in? $500. What would you? I mean, you'd be like,
this is not going to blow my mind.
It's not going to work. Yeah. Well, that's how other sophisticated investors will be. So I can say this, that for larger stuff like this, you know, 100K is the minimum for us, because I have found personally that if it's anything 50 below, we're getting calls quite often from investors, and we field them, and because they're our investors, we got to take care of them. We got to inform them and keep them up to date on everything. But the $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 investment type of person, they're not calling you. Yeah. Like if they see you in public, they're not even going to bring it up. They're going to talk about something else. You know what I mean? Right. So it's just a different vibe. So yeah, no, something like this, it would be a minimum of at least 100, 200 to get.
Gotcha. Do y'all know these people?
Yes.
Who are these people that are investing in these big real estate deals and stuff like that?
Man, people you would imagine and people you wouldn't imagine. Like, I don't know. I mean, really, it's just a broad array of people. I mean, it's folks that we've invested with in the past. You know, I mean, we've got some investors that have been rocking with us for years and years, and everything we do, they're in. Like, there's no question. They're like, I think T might have mentioned at some point, I don't know if it was on here or somewhere else, but I know she told you this, but she's like, I told Derik 2023, he's got no choice. He's got to invest what I invest
in.
You know?
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd be doing that anyways, you know, but that's how some of these investors are. But really, it's a reputation thing, and just connections. You know, I mean, through relationships like this, we'll get connected with people and just bring it up. But we've got people all over the world. Really, we've got international investors, we've got domestic investors. I mean, just all over. Yeah.
So when there's a deal, you're never worried about raising the money.
Never. Look, I can tell you this. This is a very transparent conversation, right? Like, transparent thing for me to say. But right now, the thing that I guess the topics that are dominating our internal business discussions have nothing to do with raising capital. It's everything to do with we need a better infrastructure so we can raise $200 million. Like right now, what we're using is not going to work. Like, it needs to be better. Like we're driving a really reliable, 2016 Ford F-150, but I need that big Denali. You know what I mean? Like we need something with some style. And so that's what's dominating our discussions right now. But no, we've not found a cap on what we can raise yet. It's just the trick is always having the right deals, like kind of locked and loaded for new investors to come in on. Or like when someone says, hey, I've got, $3-4 million, whatever that is for you, it's having the investment ready, because there is nothing, I would say, there's a couple things worse than this, but in terms of raising capital, it's not a good look when you're like, hey, what's your return, you gave on investors last year? It's like, oh, we're averaging 18, 19, 20% return for investors on these larger real estate deals. And they're like, oh, dang, I got $5 million. What you got for me? And you're like, nothing. It's not a good look. So we have to really manage, acquisitions and making sure we have enough locked and loaded to be able to bring in new investors. But to answer your question originally, it's a whole.
So if there is a $5 million deal, $8 million deal, obviously you guys underwrite it. Mm-hmm. You don't have the question of, man, where am I going to get this money from?
No, money's always the secondary or tertiary thing. Like, and this is something, honestly, look, I've got college degrees, okay? I got a master's degree. And I only say that to say, to like highlight my sister, because I didn't know how money was really made until I hooked up with Terica. Like, it was not, like, I mean, look, finance degree, MBA, don't know how to make money. Like, how does that even work, Right. But the thing is, like, the first part of every conversation for us, I mean, like I've got a couple deals in my inbox right now. Like Derik will send them to me. She's like, hey, we need deep underwriting, but she's already done. Like she already knows it's a good deal. Mm-hmm. But we're doing underwriting because we know that's what investors are going to want. Like that's the deep thing. But we'll do that. That's the first thing. The second thing is usually the structure. Like how do we want to structure this deal? Is it like a limited partnership, or is this more of like a hey, call your boy, we're going on this LLC together, or whatever it may be. You know, and the fourth thing is usually funding. Like how do we fund it? But it's not. We usually get through that step the quickest. Yeah. I will say that for sure.
Got to backtrack a little bit. You said, I didn't know how money was really made until you hooked up with Terica.
Yeah.
How is money made? What did you learn?
Yeah. So, firstly, it's not made in the office. You know what I mean? Like, and what I mean by that is, you know, I mean, my whole corporate career, I'm in an office crunching numbers. I mean, not like, you know, I worked at a public utility, you know, as a financial analyst. I was, you know, working on like, you know, a lot of analysis for like natural gas markets and stuff. And, you know, I mean, that budget that I would mess with was right around $300 million a year. So it's just numbers on the page at that point, you know, but there's a difference when like you start seeing more zeros like in your own stuff, you know, but I'll say this, the biggest thing that like one of the biggest takeaways was the idea of leveraging. And it's such a simple concept, but believe it or not, it's not something that's really taught like in college. I've got real beef with that, you know, because it is a simple enough concept to teach a 10-year-old. In fact, we have teaching tools. Like we have a board game, you know, that teaches like my 8-year-old knows how to leverage right now, you know? But just that simple thing, you know, like don't be afraid of debt. You know, debt is probably in terms of building wealth, the most powerful tool outside of your own brain, you know, that you can ever find. But really it's that. It's the idea of leverage and using other people's money to create win-wins for everyone involved.
Give me your first example of like, you know, working with Terica, like your first example where you saw it. Like, oh, wow, I've been doing this all wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So our first deal, you know, and you got to keep in mind, like this first deal we had, it was coming off of the back of like I finished my MBA in like 2016, bought a manufacturing business like exterior window shutters, very successful business, and we got hit with some crazy flooding in Louisiana, put the whole thing underwater, and at that point it was like, you know, we're fighting for dear life after 3 months in, you know, so
goodness gracious,
it ended up not panning out, you know, and you know, but walking through that, he's like, hey, I think you'd like this real estate stuff. So we start doing a deal together. I think place might have been named Knollwood, the street. I remember, man. I think it might have been one of those. But so we're like mid-flip. Thing gets, you know, it's just a fix and flip. It gets rezoned in a flood zone. I'm like, oh, man, I'm not making no money on this, you know. We get to the end, and we made like $12,000 in profit total. And I remember thinking, dude, I just made $6,500. I am so stoked about this. Like, I remember Terica calling me, and she was like all upset. And I'm trying to figure out what's wrong. She's like, this is a waste of my time. $6,500. I don't even get up for $6,500. And I'm thinking, wait, this is the floor. Right. We ran another one, and it was like 45K profit. And she's like, this is more like it. And I said to myself, like, this was easy. Like it was too easy that it almost felt like it was not legal. You know what I mean? I remember thinking, and like, look, if you think like I'm risk averse now, I've grown in the last several years, but I would ask her so many questions and just drive her crazy, you know, because I'm like, I don't think like this can't be real. You know, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But in the case of real estate investing, there's so many ways to win. And so many ways to make money. I mean, you can make money through appreciation, right? Make money through value add, right? Like fixing something up and holding it, selling it for more. You can make money through rents. And all the while, you have ownership of this physical asset that even if the market tanks, like 2008, you know, market, like catastrophic tanking. And real estate only went down 30%. Catastrophic. And I'm like, 30%
seems a lot. Seems like a lot.
30% is a lot, but when you realize that it recovered in 2.5, 3 years, then it's not. You know, I mean,
gotcha.
It's really not. Like as long as you stay, you know, under leveraged in a sense, and that's a lot of the stuff we teach, right? And we put into practice. What we teach is based off of what we put into practice, but like, you know, things like the 70% rule, where when we go into real estate, you know, we're trying to get in it total acquisition, rehab for less than 70% of what it's going to be worth when we're done. Because guess what? When we finish, we have enough insulation there in that equity to protect us from market downturns so that we're not over leveraged. We don't have to liquidate the property or sell at a loss or do any of that stuff. So
what's the best deal that you are a part of? Best real estate deal?
Yeah, that's an easy one. So me and T were talking about it this morning on the flight over, but so we got this 60 unit.
I'm in there.
Yeah, you in that one.
I'm in there.
That one is real thick, I will say. But it's a 60 unit, all single family homes. It was one of the first, it was the first HUD site under the Housing Assistance Program in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
I think we had the King family go out there at some point way back when, but the story behind that property is pretty amazing. It's South Louisiana, and like most places in the South, there's a lot of extracurricular stuff. You know what I mean? That's not really above the line, but hold
on, I'm sorry. Explain the HUD thing. The first HUD.
Yeah. So HUD site. So everyone knows like Section 8, right? Section 8. If you have a rental property and it's on Section 8, the local HUD office, like they'll come out, they'll do their inspection, whatnot. But really, that transaction is between the tenant and HUD. Okay, and you'll get paid directly from HUD for that one property. If you have 10 properties on Section 8, there's 10 different transactions. A HUD site's a little different. With a HUD site, the transaction is between you and HUD. Now, between you and HUD, there's like a state governing authority in almost every case.
Well, the first example is Section 8. Section 8, 10 units. It's like there's
you would get 10 individual payments, and there's a case for each one.
Yes.
Each tenant has its own file with HUD.
Right. For Section 8.
That's correct.
Not HUD.
Well, Section 8 is a program under HUD.
I see.
Housing and Urban Development, yeah.
Gotcha.
And so a housing and urban development site, a HUD site, it's like Section 8, except the transaction occurs between you and the governing authority. So the state agency, HUD, and instead of getting 60 individual payments, in this case, you get one check per month. And because they don't really do these anymore, like if you're kind of grandfathered in, you're like in, you know what I mean? But the great benefit of them is that they're usually reserved for high importance projects. Like in the area that this particular investment is in, there is very little, subsidized housing, right? In an area that needs it, right? There's a greater need for affordable housing. And so this is a great incentive for HUD. HUD's like, hey, we'll make this a little more convenient. We'll give you these one payments. We'll sign long-term agreements, for you to keep operating this thing wholly. Yeah. And so in this case, this property at 60 units generates about $500,000 a year in revenue. It is a value add opportunity. I'll say we have, in terms of in it, we expect to be in probably no more than 1.2 acquisition and rehab at the end of the day. Yeah. We've only got a few more months left in renovation. And we've already gotten our appraisal.
Yeah. What's the appraisal? Y'all didn't tell me.
I thought we told. Yeah. Because you remember we were trying to refi some of that out. You remember we told you?
Oh yes, yeah. Okay, that was the appraisal. I got you.
That's that big number.
Yeah.
You remember what it was?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. It was a lot, but to actually take the money, you needed like some sort of weird insurance or something. So
so you want me to get into that?
Let's get in the weeds.
All right. So first off, it appraised for $3.3 million.
Yes, and we bought it for like $600,000 or something. $650.
Put a few $100,000 in it to fix it up. Now that's crazy numbers, dude. That's too good to be true. It's crazy numbers, and people are like, well, why would someone sell, something like that, at such a discount? And there's so many reasons.
Yeah.
In this particular scenario, well, not to be specific, but the previous owner, he had other business venture ideas.
Yeah.
And for him, they were urgent enough where he's like, you know what? This is what I want. This is what I need. If you can close this in a week, which we did, then I'll sell it for this price. And we did. Stuff like that is out there. But in this case, we're like, all right, we're in it for 3.3. We're going to, refinance out, a good portion of this to get our principal back for our investors and to get them a strong return. The property can still afford. And
real quick, like it was so cool because that is around the time of one of the first or second property challenge.
Yeah, right before the second property challenge.
Right before the second property challenge. And it was so cool because the people in the inner circle got a chance to invest in that project.
100%.
So I'm one of the investors, and when we do the meetups and stuff like that, I get to meet my business partner. They're like, "Yo, I'm in the 60 unit." I'm like, you too? Oh, you got your little check? I got me a little check too. That's what's up. Yeah, it was lit.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. It really, and that's what we do. I mean, we're all about, like, for us, we want long-term relationships. Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to milk everything out of a business relationship that I can, because I want to be doing it for the next 30 or 40 years. Like, I want our kids to know each other. Yeah. Like, I want our grandkids to know each other. I don't know. That's kind of neither here nor there. But
I didn't understand. I honestly, I'm still working on my being able to see the big picture, because I'm talking to Derik. I'm like, oh, well, the spot is $650,000. We put a few $100,000 into it, $1 million. Between me, you, Derik, Neo, put together $1 million, no problem. Mm-hmm. But Terica was like, the inner circle has to be a part of that.
Yep.
Like, she's like, yo, I want some other people to have like long-term wealth building ability. And I'm like, we have the money though. You know what I mean? Yeah. We could just do it ourselves. You know what I mean?
I remember the exact day she called me with the deal, and then, you know, it was not a question right away. She's like, this is the inner circle. Like, we're going to bring this. And I did tell her, I was like, but it would be juicy if we just did it for us though. You know, cause like this deal, it really is the best one I've ever been a part of. Like, not even close. It is a unicorn of a deal. And, you know, low key, I don't know if she want me to say this, but we got another one in the works. Like, it's close to this one, you know? But we'll see, you know. I mean, at the end of the day, it just comes back to getting a response and a good negotiation. But
what do you want the acquisition to be at? Give me some numbers behind it.
So the acquisition that we're looking at it's about the same as this 60 door. About, I think it's 1.2 is the number she said.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not as juicy, but it is, you know, it's the same attributes. So in terms of, there's a little bit of equity grab there because the owners are in a certain circumstance where they're like, you know what, there's urgency for me, right? So I need to move this thing. The second attribute is that it's a HUD site.
Yeah,
it's another HUD site.
Oh, so that automatic money, that automatic contract money, meaning like the HUD will say, okay, we'll give you X amount of dollars per year for
however many years. Yeah, and for the 60 unit, I mean, we're in for about 20 years right now. So.
Yeah. $500,000 for 20 years.
Yeah.
That is a $10 million contract.
It's nuts. At $10 million before inflation, before appreciation on the property, because rents go up, you know, like.
Oh, and then HUD has to pay more.
Yeah, HUD rents go up. Yeah. I mean, they release new rates every year. In fact, we just, on that particular property, you know, because this is something that's every year, right? We just finished this past year's cycle where we go in and it's a rate assessment, and they do rate increases. And so, you know, that's going to be going into effect pretty soon here. So, yeah.
I'll never go homeless, Derik.
At worst case scenario, you just live in one of those 60 units.
Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
That you can literally get into the real estate game, and you, at some point, you never, ever have to worry about shelter.
No, never. I love it.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could move into one and then take the money from the income and pay my bills. Like, it just, I mean, I'm not balling. I can't buy no more watches, but.
Yeah. I mean, if you leverage right, maybe you can. bank, yeah, I'll give you this this loan for this Rollie as long as you're secured against that property.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh man, where were we? Okay.
Breaking down the Franklin deal. So you were like, well, you know, how do we pull that money out, and why do we end up not moving forward with that? So, one thing about Louisiana, insurance right now, the insurance industry is in turmoil, you know.
The industry or just Louisiana?
Louisiana specifically.
Gotcha, okay.
Now, other states maybe, but Louisiana is such a hot mess right now that, you know, it's really, it's an issue, and here's why. So the area that this property is in, you know, it's kind of a rural area in Louisiana, and it's really difficult to get insurance already, especially flood insurance. Well, because of different market things, you know, and different state laws. I mean, we had a lot of hurricanes too, you know, so there's a lot of loss claims. So insurance companies either go bankrupt or they decide to move out because it, you know, to save their other business ventures in other states. They don't want to bring the whole ship down for one state. And so in that particular area right now, in terms of flood insurance, we got one option. This company can charge whatever they want. You know, got one option for
They have
insurance.
a monopoly on flood insurance in this area.
Yeah, yeah. And there's other options, but they're. I mean, so we got this particular scenario, right? And why is flood insurance relevant for a refi? Well, because if you're refinancing, the bank is going to have certain coverage requirements for insurance, certain policies you have to carry. Because half of this property, not even all 60 units, but half of the 60 unit portfolio is in a flood zone, a minor flood zone that's never flooded in the history. You'll find some wood, you know, but it's never flooded in the history of the property being in existence. Even then, it still has to have flood insurance, right? Well, you know, so to refi, we have to have flood insurance. So we get our quotes in. One quote, you know, it came in at roughly, I don't know, $200K a year.
Dang.
$200K.
That's like half the HUD contract.
Almost half the HUD contract. Not only that, but on top of that, they hit us with, hey, this rate is also going to increase by nearly 60% in 12 months. So when you renew,
wow,
we're going to be pushing $300,000. Now imagine that. The property brings in gross $500K. So you're at almost $300,000 just in insurance costs. And you're never going to use that insurance. It's not like if we spend $300K on construction, that's money added to the property.
Yeah.
Like that increases the value.
Sure.
Insurance, it's a straight money loss. And so, you know, right now, you know, we can self-insure and we can do all that, but a bank won't accept the self-insure.
Gotcha.
So, and this kind of comes back to like that GPLP setup, right? Yeah. Like as a general partner, that's your role, is to make a decision in the best interest of your investors, you know, the best interest long-term and short-term, all terms, you know, but it doesn't change the fact that the property is still worth $3.3 million. That does not change a single thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. All right. I want to go back to some deal structure, right? What has been the most creative deal that you've had to structure?
I think actually a part of this one. See, the New Orleans condo or the New Orleans Airbnbs.
Oh, yes. By the French Quarter.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yes.
That one's pretty complicated. So, you know, we have a...
I get excited when I start talking about my properties, bro.
Have you seen pictures of it recently?
Yeah, it's
beautiful.
beautiful.
It's so clean. It's got like that New Orleans feel. Like, yeah.
Yes. When I went the first time, I think they were starting construction. I mean, I saw it. I remember when she found it, and I just flew down there, and we bought it maybe 300 something thousand.
Yep.
Yeah,
about
and so T was like, "Yo, we gonna go half on this property." I'm like, "Oh, bet." And if I'm being honest, I don't really know what I be doing. I just trust y'all.
I think that was one of the first ones you got. Well, you know, the Shands building might have been the first one. That was the second one.
No.
The first one was the flip.
We did a flip, and it was amazing.
That one was super juicy, yeah.
And then I was like, "Yo, let's do that again." And Terica's like, "Slow down. Let's get you some stable real estate income." And then I went and got the 3 units, and I think it was all like $75,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the owner financed it, so literally, I got in a deal for little to no money, and it makes
how that works.
Yeah, it's wild.
Just free money, man. Like
it's wild.
I mean, it's like it like when I graduated college and worked in finance, they never told me, hey, there is a lot of free money out there.
Yeah.
You know, people will pay you this or give you free money just for a matter of convenience or stability.
Let me tell you about that deal. And again, it'd be really just Terica and you and y'all say go, and I'm like, all right? Yeah. So, and I still can't believe this one. For one, how I got these 3 units for $75,000, who knows? But also, the numbers. I think my mortgage to the owner is maybe like $450 a month, but the 3 units
for all 3 units,
for all 3, that's crazy, bro. It's $475. I pay $475 a month mortgage to the owner who's owner financing it at like some ridiculously low interest rate. But when all 3 units are built out, I get like $1,500 a month. Terica drove me by it. I didn't even recognize. She said, "Yo, do those look familiar to you?" I was like, no. I said, can we buy it? You know what I mean? I'm in like in my buyer mode right now. I'm like, yo, can we buy it? She's like, what are you talking about? And then I looked at the street sign and I remember like the invoices, not invoices, but like when I get paid every month, I'm like,
yeah.
Is that mine? She said, yes, those are the ones you own. But never saw it. It makes me $1,000 a month. I think one of the units isn't built out right now. So I think I make $600 to $1,000 a month profit every single month.
And you have it under a property manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, you really don't have to do anything. I mean, those property managers make it super easy. They just give you a check a month,
100%, bro.
That's nuts.
The hardest part was setting up my direct deposit.
Oh no, that's a good problem to have,
For sure.
Yeah.
So that was amazing. I forgot where we were. I just get excited.
We're talking about complicated deal structure.
Yes.
So that one, there's a lot going on. Okay, so Derik and I, we have a company that's the largest real estate crowdfunder in Louisiana, right? We do, specifically.
Really?
Yeah. So we
What's the name
do
of it?
Salt Capital.
So Salt Capital is the largest real estate crowdfunder in Louisiana?
Yeah. So
really?
we do a lot of real estate crowdfunding. We specialize in, non-accredited investors, right? So I say it's highly regulated.
Unsophisticated.
It's the non-sophisticated. I love them. I'm like, that's me not long ago. You know what I mean? Maybe there's some things I still do that aren't sophisticated. If you hear me saying dat and this, I'm like, you can't take Louisiana out of me. You know what I mean?
did twerk at that party, Derik.
I did, and
very disturbing.
But keywords, I did it well, without stretching. So I'm about that action, some things just won't go away. That's one of them. Anyways, so with that type of crowdfunding, it's called Rule 506B in the SEC code. B is in Bravo, and so it allows you to raise from a certain number of non-accredited investors. It caps at 33 now. It used to be 30. It increased to 33 about a year and a half ago. And so we'll use that structure to fund smaller deals like this, like anything below, a few $100,000, that's how we'll fund it. And so, what happens is kind of like, imagine like we're having a meeting, right? A meeting of the minds, a meeting of different parties that are bringing different things to the table. In this particular meeting, we have our development company, they come to the table. They're like, all right, we're going to be the developer. You and Derik come, you're like, hey, we bought this property. We're bringing the actual property to flip. Or to renovate and operate. And then you have this crowdfunding group saying, hey, we're bringing money for rehab and for construction. We've brought all these people together and we have this all, memorialized in very long, detailed, legally vetted agreements, right? But everyone brings a certain thing to the table and everyone gets paid a certain portion of profit for that. Yeah. So whether it's through, Airbnb profit, or whether we convert them to long-term rentals and it's through profit there, or whether we decide to sell because, we had an expectation of, valuation, and I think it's going to be substantially higher, like crazy substantially higher. So, it just gives you options. We can sell it, which we're not going to do. We're going to hold that sucker and let it marinate a little while. But that's one of the more complicated deals because anytime 506B is used at all, you have to issue these things called private placement memorandums, so PPMs for short. It's basically like a 100-page disclosure that it tells investors all the reasons why they shouldn't invest and all the ways they can lose their money in full. So we send that out, they execute, we just do all that. So, but it was a complicated deal to put together, right. And even from an accounting perspective, it was complicated as well. But we're cooking now. Yeah, ready to rock.
Good. Yeah. We'll be open when? Soon.
Soon. Very, very soon. Yeah. Yes. We're about to start closing up walls if they haven't already, that's when it starts to really move quickly.
I think we should do like some masterminds at the spot where like we rent out all 5 units to like 5 people that want to do a mastermind. Yeah. We stay there for a night or something like that.
This would be so clean.
Yeah.
It's going to be real nice.
That'd be lit.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I have $5,000.
Okay.
And I want to do something with the $5,000. What's your recommendation?
Real estate or anything?
I just want to make more. I just want to make money.
Yeah. So I don't trust markets in general. So like stock markets. I mean, I'm invested in the stock market. I'm invested in crypto, but I don't trust those markets because they're easily manipulated. You know, you got the Federal Reserve. I'm not going to get conspiratorial here because we'll go in, you know, but you got the Federal Reserve affects the stock market. You know, you've got, you know, large purchasing groups that affect, you know, crypto. So my lean for a new investment is always going to be real estate. The first thing I'm doing with that is I'm looking for properties. I'm looking for just find me a 2, maybe even 3. You know, I'm looking for a shanty house.
With $5,000?
You can do that. So with $5,000, I can leverage, you know, up to $25,000 in purchase power. Okay. So let's say I find a property, you know, $10,000. Okay. I can buy this. Maybe it's just a trailer on a lot for $10,000. I'll buy that sucker. You know, I put 15,000 in it. Now all of a sudden I'm renting this thing for, I don't know, $500, $600, $700 a month, you know, making pretty decent profit on that. You know, it's a little harder to find those smaller, you know, dollar ones. You can. So, you know, if I'm having trouble doing that, I'm finding me an investor. I'm finding me a partner.
Gotcha.
You know, and we're going to go in and split this thing. We're going to scale it upwards, you know, because it's easy to say, like, once you get to the point of, like, let's say I've got $5,000, I found something that all in is like $80,000. Okay. Well, I need to find a way to fund, you know, let's say my 20% down payment for bank financing on that 80 would be $16,000. So I got 5. So I need to find 11,000 in cash somewhere. I'm going to find me a partner. Okay. And I'm pitching this to them. Hey, we're going to be in this thing for 80. We're done. It's going to be worth 180. We're going to be able to pull out 80% of that equity, which we're going to do because the numbers make sense. You're going to get your portion. I'm going to get my portion and we can run it back, or we can just go and do our own stuff. And in one deal, you can literally change your life. Not only that, here's another thing, because this is a big untapped, you know, aspect of many people's investments. So in most homes in the world, we'll just say in the U.S. because I can't speak for the world, but, you know, statistically in the U.S., the biggest investment a family will ever have, do you know what that is?
Their home.
Their home. And it's also the biggest source of untapped equity. It's the home. Why is that? Because as consumers, we're terrified of debt. Now, if you're using debt as a consumer, that's a bad thing. Like I'm using debt to buy, you know, jewelry, or using debt to take vacations. That's a bad thing. Yeah. But if you're using debt to leverage on income generating activity, that's business debt. That's a little bit different. So one of the greatest things that people can use to change their lives right off the bat is just simply getting a home equity line of credit, HELOC for short, HELOC. That'll allow you to tap into the buying power of your home. And let's say you got $100K equity in there, just built up over the years, you know, from your down payment initially, all of that stuff, appreciation, right? Because you have to get an appraisal. You'll be able to pull out $80K, up to $80K.
So if I have $100,000 worth of equity, I can pull out up to 80%, meaning I can pull out $80,000, but that $80,000 has buying power of $300,000. Is that right?
Right about $400,000. So five times the buying power. Yeah.
Oh, because you have to put down 20%.
Yeah.
So okay, just quick recap. If there's a building or a house for $500,000, you probably have to put down 20%. No, which is 100,000.
Yeah,
400. Okay, 400. So yes, if you have a building or a house for 400,000, putting down 20%, you put down 80,000.
Yep.
But that whole 80,000 can come from the $100,000 worth of equity that you already have in your home.
For sure.
And it's just untapped. People don't realize
it's untapped. And when you pull on it, usually HELOCs are 10 years interest only. It's free money. I mean, you don't have to pay back the principal yet, you know? And it's like, as soon as I go into that, I can hear voices in my head saying, of the naysayers saying, oh, well, you know, you got to pay that principal back. And what about the balloon payment at the end of 10 years? And I'm like, you're already discounting your profit strategy or your wealth strategy based off of something 10 years from now. Like what happens in 10 years if you got to pay a balloon payment, you can't, you know, get another HELOC? Then sell the property. Yeah. Get your money back. Like it's all good. But yeah, that's a huge thing. It's such a huge investment tool. But $5,000, that's what I'm doing. You know, I'm looking for something to buy outright that is heavy value add, so I can flip that money and turn it into something quicker, or find a partner in doing the same thing.
I like that. One more question.
Yeah.
Hey, Reese, you have the mic? I want Reese to ask a question because Reese is in the, he really likes real estate.
Yeah.
And he's going to be building out his real estate portfolio. So I want you to get a question ready before we get out of here, okay, Reese? Okay, you're not in real estate, right? You want to get into the space? Yeah, we got to get some real estate.
I think, where do you live? Not like address, but like what kind of place do you live in? Yeah. Okay, you rent? Okay, you in real estate. Just somebody else's real estate.
Just on the other side of it.
We got to get you in your real estate. Got to get you in your real estate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, and I'll say it's like the first buy, your first buy as a homeowner, is your personal home, is where you can make the biggest immediate impact. I mean, it's insane. Because like, I mean, you go to buy your first place, you buy a duplex, okay? Not only is it value add, so you built up equity in it, not only can you get a HELOC on it, okay? But now you have a tenant that is paying your rent or the mortgage that you actually do have. Not only are you living for free, but you're getting all the benefits of all of this other stuff, just like stacking it.
You gonna get a duplex?
That's the play.
You should get a duplex. Yo, listen, we got to help my team build out some portfolios, man.
Right, let's get it.
We really got to help. So Reese just went to the last meetup. You know what I'm saying? It's just privilege. You know what I mean? It's just privilege. Like just being on the squad. So Reese was able to go. Okay, you gotta go to the next one. Okay, you gotta go to the next one. Okay, Reese, what you got? You got a real estate question?
I don't know if I missed it, but how much do I need to save to start investing in real estate?
Good question.
Honestly, I don't think you need to really save anything. Like you can get started with $0.
How you do that?
The same conversation is leverage. It's other people's money. You find an investor. Like here's the thing. Like if I know, let's say I'm renting, okay, and I know the power and impact that getting in like a duplex house hack situation, the type of impact that will get me, I'm looking for any and everyone I can. If I need 15 grand down, I'm hitting up everyone I can. Yeah. I'll give you 12% interest, promissory note, 10 years. Like what's up? Someone will bite on that. I mean, me and Derik bid on something less than that recently. Really? You know, and you know, so I know I'm competent, right, with this real estate game. So I'm finding that. I'm getting that promissory note. I'm using the cash from that promissory note as my down payment. I'm going to run the play, and guess what I'm doing? I'm not paying 12% interest for 10 years. I'm going to pay it off within a year. Yeah. As soon as I get the property situated, I get a tenant in, and we're cooking, I'm going to run that HELOC play. I'm going to get that down payment money out, and I'm paying off the promissory note, and now I'm cooking.
Hey, why don't y'all just give me $1 million for the building?
I mean, we can. I like 12. I like 15%.
Whoa, brother! I don't know about all that.
Hold on. I had to up it 3% because I'm like, I need some wiggle room because when Tara could come back, she could be like, nah, 12%.
I love it. Okay, so really, but the prerequisite is you have to learn how to find a good deal.
100%. Yeah. So I say this all the time to like our students, right? Our inner circle, all the time. The greatest potential for self-sabotage in this adventure, this journey is yourself. Like no one can self-sabotage your stuff and mess your stuff up like you can. Not a single soul on this earth. Because like you'll get in your head, you'll start down on your numbers, you'll start chasing a bag that's probably not even there. You know, the crypto term of FOMO, you know, like I'm fear of missing out. Like I'm afraid to, if I don't pull the trigger, I'm going to lose. Like, no, that will burn you faster and remove any forward advancing you've done faster than anything else. But look, in our program, right, like our inner circle, we spend the first 2 months, like we don't even put the groups together. Like new groups coming in, it's like we're laying foundations here. God. Because there are certain things that we need you to know. Like, and what that all sums up to is we need you to learn what you don't know. Yeah. As soon as you learn what you don't know, well, now when someone starts talking something sideways, you're like, I know this other stuff behind it. I can go learn it real quick and kind of check this person. But no, it's really laying strong like knowledge foundations and knowing what to look for, knowing how to run your numbers, knowing how to spot a good versus bad deal, knowing where the landmines are placed. Like once you know that, the funding is the easiest thing. Like it is the easiest thing.
Wow. How often a year do the cohorts open up? Because I know it's not just you could just sign up and be like, yo, I'm in here. Like there are cohorts. So how often a year? How many times a year?
No more than 3. It's very curriculum based. Like we it's not like a floating learning thing. It is very structured. We have a very specific focus and pacing to what we learn or what we teach. So we're looking 2 to 3 times a year max. We have like these open enrollment periods. Gotcha.
Hey, look, there is I'm sure there'll be a link below, I think, the Property Challenge.
Propertychallenge.com. Yeah.
So if you go to the website and you don't see the Property Challenge coming up right now, and I'm just gonna just lay a foundation, y'all. If you don't see it coming up right now, sign up for the wait list because the wait list will notify you when the next challenge comes up. But for you to be in the Terica Lynn Smith inner circle, you have to go through the Property Challenge, which I was like, dang, T, because I'm not used to that necessarily. I'm like, T, let people in. They want to sign up, let them sign up. And she was like, the way that y'all structured it, it was you can't just sign up because now it actually makes sense what you just said. You have to lay a foundation of education first. So you wouldn't even really know what to do with the $5,000. So probably take the $5,000 and take $100 of that and join the Property Challenge.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I'd take that $5,000. I might go buy something nice and then just go leverage to buy the real estate. You know what I'm saying? but no, that's exactly how we do it. Because here's the thing: like everyone thinks they want to get into real estate until they start seeing the not pretty elements of it. Yeah, and like so we want people to be making measured decisions. Like this is not some fly by night things. Like we're making like you need to come to this 5-day webinar at least. And sit through this, hear us, and if at the end of it you're still like, yeah, I'm interested, then let's talk about that.
Yeah, good stuff. You got any other questions?
Cohort or?
Oh
yeah, you just come. I got you.
That's my assistant. So you got
VIP list. Yeah.
No doubt. Reese, what's up?
So right now I'm working on figuring out my next investment. I do have a property in Vegas, and it's been taking me through hell. Just learning all the process. So now I have a partner. I've been to her, but I reintroduced myself at Terica's event, and she's helping me figure out how to actually run numbers, and it's a lot of formulas, and I get confused real easy. So
hold on real quick. So you have a property in Vegas, and you met someone at the Property Challenge meetup.
Yes.
And that's now your partner.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. And she's teaching you the formula. I can attest to that because Reese, we got this joke where like if Reese is doing one thing, and I'm like, hey, do this and that, he'll freeze. He got this little move. He'll be like, so. Listen, I feel you, bro, because the formulas, they be killing me too. But go ahead, finish with your question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I lost my train of thought.
You're saying Vegas property.
Yes, so she's been showing me how to run numbers, and I've been looking at properties out in Atlanta, and I just don't see anything worth even investing in.
Where are you looking?
I'm just typing in Atlanta. Like right now, I'm not, because I'm still trying to learn the formulas. She's just having me go on websites and look up properties so I can get used to running numbers and knowing the formulas. But it's kind of discouraging.
that sounds like one of our students. Cause she's making you that because that's what we make them do. So here's the thing: is we will run. I'm talking good properties, not like, hey, we just found this thing online. Like, I know what Terica sends me is probably one of 30 or 40 things she looks at, and that's probably being generous. Mm-hmm. The amount of stuff that makes it through my underwriting is probably about 10% of that.
Goodness gracious.
Yeah, so we're talking, analyzing. I don't know what the math on that is. somebody's going to check me, I guess. But we're talking 1 in 100 properties that we look at, we pull the trigger on. So how many properties have you looked at?
Not 100.
Not 100. Yeah.
For sure not 100.
Yeah.
But I'm, like I said, I'm still trying to figure out, because I'm mixing formulas, and like I end up having to meet up with her and be like, she's like, no. So it's like I'm still trying to understand how to run the numbers, because I'll skip a step and then I'll use one number for another number, and I just get lost.
Yeah.
Can you explain the formula, like some of the formulas?
Yep, for sure. So some of the ones that we hit first, I already said the 70% rule, right? You want your acquisition and rehab to be less than 70% of the ARV, after repair value. The ARV is that magic number. And one of the big things we teach is this is an old programming term, but garbage in, garbage out.
Right.
If you got bad data in, you're going to get bad data out. So there's a few pieces of information that you need as foundations for all the basic calculations, which I'll hit on. But you need to know the rent, you need to know the ARV, and you need to know your all-in cost. Yeah. If you have very reliable data for those three things, then these numbers are going to be super solid. So number one, the 70% rule. Number two, the 1% rule or the 100 times rule, they're kind of one and the same, but basically they're a measure of the rent in comparison to what you're going on the property. So let's say, you buy a property for $100,000, 1% of $100,000 is $1,000. So your monthly rent needs to be at least $1,000 for that property to make sense.
Your monthly rent from the tenant.
That's correct. So let's say the rent in an area is $950, but the property, your all-in cost is $100,000. That fails the 1% rule.
How often do you go against your rules?
Never. So I say never, but that's a loaded question, because I'm all about context and disclaimers and fine print. So, we did this really wild session. I'd say wild for me, but at our last meetup, it's one that I do often whenever we meet up in our hometown. We do that once or twice a year for our group. But I deep dive the highly complex numbers. We're talking about cap rate, AAR, which is average annual return, ROI, everyone knows that, return on investment, cash on cash, internal rate of return, like all these fancy terms. And I got asked this question, just like I do every time, which one is best to use? And the answer is all of them, right? It's almost like, you're kind of like shopping for a car, okay? And I want my ride experience when people are with me to be enjoyable. So I'm going to drive it. I'm going to ride in the passenger seat. I'm going to ride in the back seat. I want the full experience. And every time I ride in a different seat, it's going to give me a different experience. It's going to tell me something different about that car, how it handles. I got a Yukon, and we went to New Orleans with some friends recently, and they're all the way in the back. And I kind of jerked a little bit, and I see them flying across the back, because it handles different in the back,
Right.
So, but that's how those formulas are, is they teach you or give you different perspectives on an investment. But the 1% rule is one of those, So if something, however, there is a scenario where, same example, $950 rent per month, $100,000 investment. There is a scenario where I would, not obey that 1% rule. Let's say, for example, my $100K is my in cost, but it appraises for $350,000. Right. Now, would I not compromise that extra $50 or would I give up or not give up that extra $50 a month and forego $250,000 in equity? Just not a snowball's chance. I'm all in on that, So it's different context, but that's why we say, hey, look, calculate all these things, pull all these levers, and on the front end, again, it's that 70% rule, which would have told me, is it 350 or is it 100? The 1% and 100x rule, those are about one and the same. The 2% rule is similar, but it's 2%. Right. It's a higher metric, Right. And I'll say right now, we push for 2 or a little bit higher.
Right now.
Because of where the market's at. Not that it's in a bad spot, but it's in an unsure spot. Inventory, housing inventory is really low right now. So you're not really seeing true market trends. Once inventory goes up, then you really get an idea for what buyers are going to do, and that's what drives the market. So, but we've got those things, and really after that, I mean, we're talking about, you know, going into some of the more advanced metrics, which would be, I think, some of the stuff that Reese is, you know, messing with, which would be like cash on cash, ROI, you know, that type of stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are the formulas. Listen, man, there was mad stuff we didn't cover, but is there anything that you wanted to cover that you think is very important in this, right? There's something's telling you in your spirit you need to talk about this.
Yeah, I'd say this, man, is just question everything. Because, like, you know, my whole life, you know, I was really raised up to do by the book, like, you know, and you know, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get a good job, and all those things have served me well. I'm glad that I got those degrees. I'm glad I have my corporate finance experience. I think I'm better for it. You know, but at the end of the day, like, when I started questioning, like, is this, like, for real? Like, do I really need this W-2? You know what I mean? When I made that jump, I'll never forget it. I mean, it wasn't long ago when I made that jump from a dream job that, you know, even to this day, I'm like, man, it was a fun job. I enjoyed it, you know, high paying.
How much were you making?
About 110, but benefits were insane. I mean, I could pretty much just do what I want. You know what I mean? There was tons of room for growth. In fact, I'm pretty sure a promotion was on the horizon, a pretty big one, because I had been told that that's what was coming. In fact, when I put in my 2 weeks, I'm fairly certain that they were in the process of hiring a whole, like, department of people, and I'm like, my bad, he gone, you know. But once I realized the fact that, man, it is more risky for me to have one source of income than it is for me to, you know, take this jump and develop multiple streams of income. Once I realized that, like, it really just kind of took the limits off. So I'd say question everything. Number one. Number two, find you a mentor. Like, I just can't. I will never not stop spending money on mentorships. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that only leaves us with one last question, because you kind of gave us your closing thoughts. Where do you see yourself, and what do you see yourself accomplishing in the next 5 years? Because I want to be able to watch this interview 5 years from today and say, Derik said he was going to do that 5 years ago, and look.
Yeah. So $1 billion in assets under management.
$1 billion in assets under management.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So we'll just say you own or are managing $1 billion. So I am invested in $1 billion worth of real estate. That's what I'm looking at. Yeah.
What do you think you're managing right now?
Probably about 25 million. The jump from 25 million to $1 billion is, I might as well be at zero.
Huge jump.
I might as well be at zero. But it's all right. We're talking about exponential trajectory. That's where we're looking right now. That's where we're going. And I'll say this: like, look, I'm turning 35 next month. And
really?
Yeah.
You're 30. Oh my gosh, I'm old, man. I'm 38.
That's pretty old, man.
You got way more stuff under management than me, bro.
That's a hard 3 years, man. You know?
Wow.
Yeah. It's that old saying goes. This is a cowboy saying, you know, with regards to, like, you know, riding horses and saddles. You know, because if your saddle gets wet, you don't dry it out, it messes it up. So say, been rode hard and put up wet.
Sounds weird. Sounds strange. There's a lot going on in that statement.
That's why I gave you your context. I'm like, hey, we're talking about cowboys and saddles here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Goodness, you'll be accomplishing your dream by the time you're my age. Right,
but you'll be there with me though. That's the whole thing.
With you.
So my goal is also your goal too.
Yeah. Show. I got a couple. Hold on, let me think. Yeah, I got a couple million under management.
Yeah. You do. And growing.
Yeah, and growing. Under management. I'm gonna add that to my
get
bio.
Those numbers up for sure.
Couple million under management.
AUM, right? We're official here. Yeah.
I love it. $1 billion. RD, man. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate you. And this was a lot of people asked me to come to the podcast, but, like, this was a request of mine, of you. Like, I was like, yo, I got to get you on the podcast, because we're at dinner, and I'm telling you, Derik gets in the weeds, and I love the weeds. Right? He started explaining cap rate to me, but what you don't know is, like, on the plane before I got there, I was actually researching cap rate, because I'm looking at all these buildings, and it's saying, okay, cap rate is this, cap rate is that, and then I'm starting looking at videos of cap rate, and none of them explained it well. And then I sat down with you at dinner, and, like, you really answered all my questions. So I am thrilled to be in business with you.
Yeah, hey,
I
the
really
feeling
am.
is mutual, my friend, for sure. We got look, we haven't even started yet. Like if we're on a flight, like we haven't even boarded the plane yet.
Yeah.
Like we're just doing pre-flight stuff right now. So we're gonna get it. It's gonna be this trajectory is gonna be nuts. We're gonna do some crazy things in the next 5 years.
Absolutely, man. Also, last thing, can you kind of tell people like about the challenge and the inner circle, because there's some amazing things going on in the inner circle.
Yeah. Look, I'll say this, and I can't say it in more clear terms. Everything we do at the end of the day is focused on growing people. There's no scenario where I want to be, in a situation where I have reached my goal and there's no one around me. Like I lose sleep about that. Like it makes me sick to my stomach thinking about it. Like, I want crowds and crowds of people all saying we did it too. That's just amazing. So for the property challenge, that's what we do. That's the starting point for us. It's a 5-day webinar. We're going in on, we got some crazies. We've had some wild speakers. I think about, back in January of this year, we had Rose himself, Rick Ross. And I'll tell you that I have not often been more entertained by that, but it's wild because you've got all these people that you may not have known, everyone knows who Rick Ross is, but not everyone knows how smart of a business person he is. Like, and he's spitting game and you're just like, this dude is in on real estate, So we got tons of speakers that come in, of course. We get up there, we drop a lot of game as well. And of course, all of that is kind of like an intro, right? Like we want you to know, hey, if you're serious about this, like we've got, direct mentorship, which is not something that Terica has really ever done. I was one of her first mentees, and it was the best time, the best investment I ever spent in my life. I mean, it changed the trajectory of my family forever, and couldn't be of a more different background than T. But that knowledge, the knowledge that she has, the knowledge that I have, that now that we impart in our program, it transcends, nationality, it transcends race, it transcends everything. Because at the end of the day, I know there's a couple things I know about people. They want to provide for their families, they want to be happy, and they don't want to have to worry about these dumb things like finances and all of that stuff. So that's the lead in. Of course, our inner circle, right? Our larger program. This is a year-long thing, right? Like we are all in. You direct message. I've got like 5 deals in my Telegram inbox right now. I got to go check out, but those are deals from our students that were saying yes, no. If they invest on it on their own, great. But if they're like, hey, I need, there's some funding opportunity here, a partnership opportunity, then we go in with it. So yeah, it's the sky's the limit with that stuff.
I love it. There's one question I'd ask too. You and Terica have a very interesting relationship. And is it ever beneficial sometime where Terica has to send you in simply because you're not black?
Yes, for sure. And vice versa.
Tell me. Okay, tell me.
Yeah. So, of course, we've got a larger, pretty large new construction development in our home city, right? And we love our city, man. I mean, it's just such an amazing community. That being said, it's the qualifier, because I'm trying to be kind of politically correct, sure. but I'll stop doing that. But I'll say that, there's a lot of resistance with this. And in this particular area of our city, there's not a lot of investment, not a lot of outside investment. And so when we were getting ready to acquire this property, we had to meet with community leaders or whatnot. And of course, like I said, this is a disparaged area that if I go in and I'm like, this is what we're doing, this is, it's just lip service. Like it doesn't mean anything, but Terica goes in and it pulls a little differently, right? Like there's a much different pull there. And I'm behind the scenes. I'm like, you do your thing. Like I'll go do my stuff. You handle this up front, and it works out for the better, because the way we view it is this, right? And we're like kingdom minded folk, you know what I'm saying? So we're very cognizant of the fact that whenever we go into communities to invest, number one, we're not doing it just for profit. We need profit to be sustainable and to make our investors money so they can keep doing it. But at the end of the day, secondly, we also partner with people for community impact. Like that's a portion of it. Yeah. We're trying to do this in a sustainable way, to use that corporate term, but But to do that, we need political buy-in, and we're up against principalities. Like, we're up against forces that go beyond real estate investing, politics, race, all of these different, economic powers, right? Like, I mean, we got pretty much sat down, by a couple different banks during this process, pretty much them telling us they were going to blacklist us for this property. And we think they did because we couldn't get any type of funding for that, which is wild,
Why though? Why are they blacklisted?
And of course, it's hard to really know for sure, but this is a property, just for context, that had been a target for acquisition for a long time. And there was a lot of like baggage with it that we were able to negotiate out because we wanted to develop the area, and do good things in the area. And so, but I'll say, look, the opposite is true too, where there have been moments where I've had to been sent in, or one of our other, non-melanin brethren, you know what I'm saying? I think in one particular case, not really going into too much detail on this one, but it was very apparent. We're like, dude, why do our permits keep not getting approved? Like, why do we keep failing these inspections that obviously everything is passed? Like, this doesn't make any sense. And then, we got a call and they're like, oh, well, this is kind of how it is. And we're like, what in the world? So we send one of our counterparts, and lo and behold, in a couple of weeks, we got our permits after months. I mean, at the end of the day, we know internally, like with me and her relationship, and with our team, right? Like, we know that because we're up against things that are spiritual, in a sense, that we have to be okay internally. Yeah. That there's going to be moments where we need the heavy guns on the front line. There's going to be moments where we need more of a dagger on the front line. Just different things are needed at different times. But at the end of the day, we're aligned on vision, and we just get it done by all means necessary.
Man, I believe that's why the team is put together the way it is, because everybody has their own, particular strengths. Everybody has their own uniqueness and can get things done. And you can't stay in your own circle to get things done.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So actually, as we start building, I got to find somebody white to join our team. We're looking. Okay. We're looking at Atlanta, okay? We need some diversity on the squad.
We out there.
Yo, man, Derik, this is my brother, man. I really, I don't use those terms loosely when I know that somebody has like my genuine best interest at heart.
Yes.
And like, we've known each other for a couple years now. We've done business together. We've broke bread together. And I really value your relationship because you've taught me so much, so much. So I want to say thank you, man, publicly. So tell everybody how to find you, man, and close us out with a word of wisdom.
Yeah, y'all, so you can find me on Instagram at Derik Godeaux, so DerikGo. I got a weirdly spelled name, so it's easy to find, I'll say. But words of wisdom, man, look, keep pushing. There's a whole lot of people that will tell you, that you shouldn't be working on the stuff that you're working on. But at the end of the day, you know what you want. And don't let anyone burn out that fire in your heart, whether it's real estate, whether it's podcasting, whatever that may be. You know what you got to do. So just focus on doing the next best thing and keep chugging along. So
there it is. Yeah. Listen, man, we can't close it out no better than that, man. Follow my brother Derik on Instagram. Okay, I'm sure his Instagram is in here somewhere. Make sure you join the property challenge because I'm in there often, and this is a true journey of wealth. Okay, I have an ability to build income based on my brand and my ability to present and my skill set. But wouldn't it be wonderful, and it's like the thought process now, wouldn't it be wonderful if I didn't have to use my ability or my articulation or communication or my podcast to make money? If I could just make money without all that stuff, because if y'all cancel me one day, my family still got to eat. So that is the objective. Make sure you join the Property Challenge, thepropertychallenge.com. What is his IG? My Patreon is talking to me right now. Derik Godeaux, DerikGodeaux,
yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
DerikGodeaux. Make sure y'all follow him, show him some love, and do yourself a favor. Go get you some social proof, meaning go build something. Build it really, really big. But go back to your community and teach them how you did it. It's the only way our community grows, okay? We are out of here. Like, subscribe. We out. Peace.
All right.